Buckle up, friends. We are going on a little ride for this video. I have been making and sharing and trying out all different organization, cleaning, and home hacks for the decade that I have been making videos on YouTube, which only makes me feel old if we linger on that fact. Now, this time has meant that I have not only tried most of the hacks, but I have also been around to see the landscape of the world of online hacks change drastically. It went from a place of sharing things to help to a place of sharing things that wow, because sensationalism performs better in an online world designed for engagement. And that's why, let's be honest, there are some hacks out there today's that are just like banana pants crazy. Nobody is gonna do that. So the other day, I decided to sit down and go through my literally years of videos of trying out and testing and sharing different cleaning hacks and compile the ones that I still use to this day, the ones that like have stuck around, withstood the test of time, and I still use in my cleaning routine basically every day and every week. Okay, we're gonna start with just some of like the one-off cleaning hacks, those sort of like little tips and tricks that you learn along the way that I have learned and I still use all of the time. And then we will move into some more sort of routines and mindset shifts.
All right, guys, we are going to start with the stainless steel kitchen sink. If you're like me, when you're done doing your dishes, you might wipe it down with a sponge and a little bit of dish soap, but after a little while it is going to develop a little bit of residue and a little bit of gross crust, especially depending on what you've been making or cooking. I like to make homemade bread, and if you've ever made dough, you know that stuff can make a big mess. And the way to get rid of that is just to use some baking soda. All you want to do is wet the sink down, sprinkle a little baking soda all over the sink, and then use a soft sponge to buff away in circular motions. Rinse the entire sink nice and clean, and you will be left with a nice, shiny stainless steel sink.
Okay, the next hack I saw said to use your mop on your kitchen cabinets. I feel like I'm cleaning my kitchen cabinets all of the time. As I mentioned, I have small children. There's just smudgy marks all over those bad boys. And it takes a while to wash them by hand. This woman was just using a mop, straight up mopping away up the counters, up the doors. In the hack, she was using the O-Cedar self-wringing mop that everyone talks about, which I had not yet bought, but I'd really been wanting to buy. And I was like, perfect excuse. And so I bought it. And I will just, spoiler alert, it's freaking amazing, okay? That mop deserves every piece of hype that people are talking about it. The coolest mop ever. Which if you had asked me when I was 20 years old if I ever thought there'd be a cool mop, probably not, but I'm 35 years old now, and that is a cool mop. Anyways, time to try it on the cabinets, and color me impressed. This was awesome. I couldn't stop. This was so satisfying, okay? Just like you're mopping floors, but you're just mopping the cabinets. It was so easy, it was so quick. I literally did my entire kitchen because it was so much fun and so satisfying, and I was done in like 10 minutes. This is the biggest TikTok cleaning hack winner I have seen in a long time. Okay, this next hack is maybe not necessarily a hack, but I saw it when I was scrolling, researching cleaning hacks, and it really stuck with me, and I couldn't stop thinking about it, and then I've started using it, and it's honestly amazing. It's like changed the way that I clean floors. But she talked about when you're cleaning floors, specifically when you're vacuuming carpet, you wanna go in a specific pattern. And I'm gonna show you here on the rugs in my studio, because I actually only have like area rugs at my house, so this is the best place to show you. And yes, my studio came with this vacuum that I think is from the 1800s. And holy guacamole is it loud, but it works. You buy a vacuum now for $500, it barely works. This vacuum has been running for 3,000 millennial. Still works amazing. Anyways, beside the point. Okay, so the way that she says you vacuum, you go forward, you turn it slightly. We're talking maybe 45 degrees, 30 degrees, 15 degrees, I don't really know. And you pull it back, and then you make it go straight up again. You turn it on an angle slightly and you pull it back. She said, yes, this gives you like carpet lines, but that's not the point. She says this specific method of cleaning ensures that you are getting every inch of the carpet and you're getting each area 2 times over. And like I said, this hack stuck with me because I wasn't originally going to include it in this video. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I'm assuming a lot of you are like me, and when you go to vacuum, there's no rhyme or reason. You are just vacuuming, just let Jesus take the wheel. You are going this way and that way. This hack blew my mind about that. Now I know that my floors are clean. I'm getting every inch. I'm getting every inch twice, and you know, it doesn't hurt to have the really pretty carpet lines. It's oddly satisfying.
We are putting Pine Sol in the washing machine. All right, just hear me out on this one. Okay, so this hack was first shared on a TikTok account called Pairs Well with Wine. She showed in her video that she cleans her comforters by adding pine sol to the drum of the washing machine, and people were, well, pretty upset. But it is true that you actually can use pine sol to clean your laundry. It even clarifies it right on their website. And the original poster argued that it deodorizes and removes all kinds of stains. Now, the reason that most people were upset about this hack once I went through some of the comments is because most of them said that the smell of pine sol gives them the ick. So fair enough. If you don't like the smell of pine sol, this one might not work for you. But if you don't mind the smell, about a quarter cup into your washing machine for things that need to be deodorized, for things that have some heavy stains, pine sol might be the one to do the trick. I'm not gonna lie, I use it on my comforter. It had a small scent to it left on the comforter, but not overpowering. Almost couldn't even really tell it was there. And my comforter came out really, really clean. Now in the same controversial video that she shared about the pine sol, it actually was more about the way that she folds her comforters to get washed better. And I ended up sharing this over on Instagram, but basically, instead of just shoving your entire comforter into the washing machine, if you use this simple method where basically you're gonna fold it in half, fold it into thirds, and then kind of fold it up into an S shape and then put it into your washing machine this way, it's going to prevent your comforter from bunching up, from making your machine unbalanced, and it's going to ensure that it gets washed and rinsed evenly because it's not like going to create any clumps inside of the drum. And you can even repeat this folding method before you get it in the dryer to help it dry more evenly as well. I want to share one of my favorite multi-purpose cleaners. This is honestly, I mix this up at least every other week in my house because I just find that it is such a good cleaner for all of the messes. It's super effective, and I can make it myself way cheaper than the multi-purpose cleaners that you are going to buy in the store. You're going to add about equal parts of water. I like to use filtered water, like from the refrigerator, and then vinegar. And then I add in like a squirt of Dawn dish soap. It depends how big your little like container is that you're putting in. For the container size here I'm probably adding maybe a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons. And this honestly just cleans so well. We all know that Dawn is amazing at breaking down grease. We know that vinegar is an awesome cleaner. It is a natural disinfectant. It tends to have a high acidity, so it's good at breaking down messes. I find this combo just works so well for all of my daily cleaning needs.
All right, I want to tell you about a product called Lest Oil because this stuff has changed my life. It gets grease stains out of clothing. I can't tell you how many pieces of clothing I thought that I had lost to grease stains. It's a lot. I have 4 children. There's lots of grease stains happening. I tried so many different methods. I tried all the different stain treatments. I tried literally all of the things, but I decided to try it first on this sweatshirt that my son had, literally grease stain all down the front. I thought that this thing was lost. I treated the grease stain, I let it sit for about 5 minutes, then I washed it according to the directions, and it came out of the wash with all of the grease stains gone. My mind was literally blown. So then I tried on some other grease stains that have been lingering around our house. All the grease stains, totally gone. Here's the green one, same thing, and now you can see it gone. All right, if you have a ton of hand sanitizer lying around, you can do so much other things with hand sanitizer. All hand sanitizers have an active ingredient of alcohol. It's either going to be an isopropyl alcohol or an ethyl alcohol. The high alcohol content is obviously good at killing germs, that's why we use it on our hands, but it's also good at breaking down substances. I like to use it to wipe down my phone. Not only do our phones get disgusting with germs, but it just helps to break down the gunk that gets on my phone. Amazing for your sunglasses. If your sunglasses have all sorts of junk on them, hand sanitizer is one of the best ways and easiest ways to just spruce them up. I also like to use them on my hair tools, flat irons or curling wands. They tend to get a buildup of junk if you're putting product in your hair and then you're using the heat on them. Hand sanitizer literally just buffs this away. Next up, let's talk about laundry stripping. Have you ever heard of this? You have maybe seen videos of this on Instagram telling you should strip your towels. It's basically just the process of taking out any buildup of oils, residues, and detergents from your laundry. So you're going to start with clean laundry and you fill up your tub with hot water, mix in a quarter cup of borax, a quarter cup of washing soda. This is different than baking soda or washing detergent, and then mix in some heavy duty detergent like a Tide. Next, mix in your laundry, make sure it is fully submerged. You want to give it a stir every 4 to 5 hours, and you're going to be probably shocked at the color of the water when you're done, because yes, that is all dirty residue that was on your laundry, your clean laundry.
Yucky water!
Yes, it is yucky water, isn't it? Now run everything through the wash again on cold water just to make sure it's fully rinsed of all of the stuff that you just used to strip it. And this process will restore your fabrics It can help to remove odors that you can't seem to get rid of, and it will strip out all of those oils and residues that may have been sitting around on your laundry. Also, while we're on the topic, let's just talk about borax and washing soda in your laundry, because knowing how to use these can be awesome life hacks too. So washing soda or pure soda ash has very high alkalinity, which means it's amazing for breaking down stains. So you can add some of this right into the drum of your laundry if you're looking to break down some tough stains in your laundry. Now, borax I find is really great for odor elimination. So add some of this into your laundry if it's not smelling so great. Maybe you've had something you washed a few times and it still smells musty. You're gonna add this into your laundry to help remove the odors. That's why together they work really great for laundry stripping. Next is a quick hack for cleaning the grates above your stove. Wait, what grates? Yeah, those ones. If you're like me, you've been ignoring these for probably your entire life, until I realized they existed and I needed to wash them. Now, my vents that I'm showing you are actually fairly new. These are like less than a year old and they weren't used a ton by the previous owners of this house, so they aren't all that gross yet. But over a year, these do get really gross. They get sticky, greasy residue on them from cooking over the stove. So once a year, it is worth pulling them off to clean them. And the hack here is don't waste your time trying to scrub them. Save the elbow grease. You can just pour boiling hot water over the top and it will melt away the sticky, greasy yuck without any scrubbing. Okay, my first tip is for the microwave, which unfortunately my microwave isn't very dirty right now. Well, I don't know if that's like unfortunate. It's unfortunate for this video. I'm gonna teach you how I keep it clean really easily. All you need to do is take about a half of a cup of some white vinegar, and then I usually throw in some lemon peel or some orange peel. Citrus essential oils are really great for cleaning, but they also help to just balance that vinegar smell. Throw this into the microwave, 2 minutes. It's essentially gonna sort of steam and evaporate into your microwave. It helps to break down anything that has sort of like stuck into your microwave, anything that's like hardened on there, and it makes it super easy to wipe it clean. If your microwave is extra dirty, like you've really neglected it, just do it twice. It's going to save you so much time and so much elbow grease, and it's honestly the only reason that my microwave was kind of clean at the beginning, because I do this like once a month and just a quick wipe and you're good to go. Okay, my next hack is for toilets, and that is to get Clorox toilet wands. These things are brilliant. I have one upstairs and one downstairs, and it's a little wand with a little container, and then it's got these little heads that clip into the wand. It's got all the cleaning ingredients that you need on it. You clean your toilet, there's a little button, the piece comes out, you put the wand back into the little holder, and you're good to go. It is the simplest, easiest, quickest way to keep your toilet clean. It's a little more wasteful than some other ways that you could clean your toilet, but for me, sometimes I just need ease to know that it's gonna get done. And if I wanna wipe that toilet down once a week, all that stuff's gotta be right there, and it's gotta be made super easy for me. My next tip is if you have something that needs to be cleaned or put away or done, and it's gonna take less than 60 seconds to just do it. I can't tell you how much this has like changed my perspective when it comes to cleaning things. I remember, it was probably 2 years ago, and I had a little pile of stuff at the top of my stairs that needed to go down to the basement that I had just kept like piling there. And it was like clutter sitting at the top of my stairs. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this down to the basement. And I timed myself in my head how long it took me to take it down to the basement, put it on the shelf, and come back up the stairs. It was like 37 seconds. 37 seconds of my life, and I no longer had stuff sitting at the top of my stairs causing clutter. And so I use this little trick in my mind all of the time now. I'm telling you, if you adopt this little mind hack, you will find that you keep your house so much tidier. It's only 60 seconds of your life, so it's like you're not dedicating a ton of time to like deep cleaning the floors or whatever, because who has time for that? You're just taking 37 seconds to run something down to the basement that's been sitting at the top of the stairs for longer than you care to admit. Luckily, I have found the most amazing trick for cleaning your tub, and that is to get a soap dispensing dish wand like this one. Got mine from the Dollar Tree. Then you're just gonna fill it with your favorite tub cleaner. Personally, I like using vinegar with a small squeeze of dish soap. Now, I talk about using vinegar a couple times in this video. I love using vinegar for cleaning. Vinegar has a natural acidity, and that acidity is just amazing at dissolving through like soap scum and all sorts of junk, and so it works amazing for cleaning. Then I'm just gonna take my wand and quickly wipe through the tub. The vinegar literally just cuts through the tub scum. I don't know how to explain it. It's amazing. Then when I'm done, I just like to quickly wipe the tub dry with a cloth. And of course, don't forget the front of the tub. I feel like this is one place that always gets neglected or forgotten. And it literally took less than 60 seconds for that tub to look like the one it looked like before to this, which, oh my God, is so much better. I literally get anxiety just looking at the before video. Last thing to clean is the glass, which had all sorts of nice, disgusting, icky buildup on it. So here's the trick. First, skip the paper towel and swap for microfiber cloths. They won't leave any of that dusty residue when you clean. Next, before you go in with your favorite glass cleaner, you want to use, yep, you guessed it, vinegar. The vinegar is going to blast through the soap scum way better than glass cleaner can. Glass cleaner is designed to clean glass, not cut through soap scum. So use the vinegar first and then follow up with your favorite glass cleaner. And what you will be left with is nice, clean shower glass. Final tip if you have full glass showers like this one is to get yourself a little squeegee. Mine is, yes, from the Dollar Tree. It works just as good as the expensive ones, let me tell you. And every time after you shower, just squeegee the water on the glass and it's gonna help prevent the soap scum from building up immensely. You'll be able to go much longer between washes. Okay, let's move on to everyone's favorite thing in the bathroom to clean, the toilet. First thing I do is just give this entire thing a good wipe down. I do a dry wipe of the toilet first and then a wet wipe of the entire thing. And as I move on to cleaning the toilet, the first thing I'm doing is taking some toilet paper and I'm soaking this in vinegar and pushing it up into the edges of the toilet. Again, the acidity here of the vinegar is gonna break down any gross junk that's in the rim of your toilet. I don't know what it is, we know that it's gross, and this is gonna help break it all down. And we'll just let that hang out there for a little while while we move on to cleaning those hard to reach spots with, yes, another Dollar Tree toothbrush. Honestly, I don't know why it is we haven't been able to invent a toilet that doesn't have 8 million little cracks and crevices. But we haven't yet. So until we do, I will be using a toothbrush because it's really the only way to get into those little spots. This is another reason I like those little 3-packs of Dollar Tree toothbrushes, because each one is its own color. So you can sort of signify like, okay, the pink one is, you know, the toilet toothbrush. I'm not gonna use that when I'm cleaning, you know, my tub. All right, back to the inside of the toilet. I'm using Clorox toilet wands. These things just make cleaning my toilet like so much easier. I honestly swear by them. And as we go, we're wiping away those vinegar soaked toilet papers, which since it's toilet paper can just go right down the toilet when we flush and are done. We give the rim a good scrub now that the vinegar has had some time to do its thing, and we're done. One other little trick when you're using a wand or a toilet brush is to just put it between the toilet and the seat to let it drip dry when you are done. That way you don't have to worry about dripping any dirty water onto your floor. This next hack I thought was brilliant, and this is for if you have glass showers. In this house that we moved into, the previous owners had just renovated the bathroom and they had put up glass shower doors, which I think look really great, but are really hard to keep clean. And I found some little tricks for cleaning them. I find that squeegeeing them after every use really works. I find that using my steam cleaner helps to clean the hard water stains off. But when I saw this hack, I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. And that is to treat your glass shower doors with Rain-X. You may have heard of the product Rain-X. Typically we use it for our cars. We use it on our windshields because it helps to bead up water. So the same idea basically applies for your glass showers. You're just going to treat them with the Rain-X and you'll find that the water beads off of the shower doors. And this basically prevents the water from sitting on the glass and creating those like hard water spots that you get on your glass that you constantly feel like you're having to wash. In this next hack, the woman suggested using your Swiffer dust mop on your walls and ceilings. I mean, your ceilings and your walls are basically floors. They're just vertical, you know what I mean? So it makes sense to use something big like your floor duster instead of a hand duster. You can just quickly wipe down walls, ceilings, corners, everything, not to mention because you have good reach with the handle. It's great for tall ceilings as well. I just love how quick and simple this is. Basically, when you got your duster out, you're doing the floors, you can go ahead and do the walls and ceilings as well and get like cobwebs and dust. All right guys, this is another one of those like, oh my God, that is a brilliant idea. You're sort of like, why did nobody ever say this to me before? But this is for your dishwasher. Now, we bought a new dishwasher when I moved into this house. It's a very nice dishwasher. It has a special setting on it that's supposed to get the stuff inside your dishwasher super ultra dry, because there's nothing worse, everybody knows there's nothing worse than putting away your dishes and like they're wet still and you're like getting water on the floor and you're getting water on your pants, it's like on your socks, it gets everywhere. It's a pain in the butt. This dry setting does a pretty good job getting things really dry, but there's still some stuff, specifically usually on the very top drawer, that just stay wet, because at the end of a dishwasher cycle, there's always still some steam inside of your dishwasher, and when that steam settles, it becomes water. So this hack says when your dishwasher is done running, open it, put a dish towel on the inside and you're gonna sort of like hang it over the top of the door and then close the door and then leave it like that for a half an hour or so. Your dish towel is going to absorb the water from the steam, and so instead the dish towel is gonna get all wet instead of your dishes being wet. It's going to just basically absorb any additional moisture that is in the dishwasher, and that way your dishes will be nice and clean when you put them away. All right, moving right along, I have a hack from Melissa Maker. She's here on YouTube with the channel Clean My Space, and she suggests adding a teaspoon of cornstarch to a cup of white vinegar and a cup of water for cleaning glass. The way she explains it is the cornstarch is sort of the magic ingredient because it's a super fine abrasive, which helps to bust away grime that would usually lead to the streaks. And I was actually amazed at how well this worked and how clean it got my glass, leaving no streaks behind. All right, I was trying to take a video to show you the streaks before and after on this window, but turns out it's very hard to film streaks on a window. The glare made it really hard, but I feel like the proof is in the pudding with how dirty my paper towel was. Mind you, these windows had been washed not that long ago, but it's amazing how much cleaner this solution got my windows. Now, I don't do this every time I clean my toilet. This is something I do maybe once or twice a year, but if you've never cleaned your toilet's tank before, you might be surprised how gross it is. So the one that we have in our main bathroom isn't too bad because I do clean it regularly, but you can see there is still some like junk built up on the sides. And when there's yucky stuff in here, this is the water feeds into your toilet. So yuck in here means yuck in your toilet. Luckily, I have a super easy, no scrubbing, hands-free way to clean this tank, and all you're going to need is some citric acid. And it's pretty easy to find this stuff. If you've never used it, it's used for all sorts of stuff. I just got it on Amazon. But you're gonna use about a half a cup to a full cup of this, and you're going to start by emptying the tank of your toilet. So you shut off the water. You can find like the little twist to shut your water off, usually at the bottom of your toilet, and then flush the toilet. This will drain out as much water as possible. Then you're gonna pour in your citric acid. Lastly, follow that up with some super hot water. I'm just using some water from my tap because our tap gets super hot, but you could also boil some water ahead of time, whatever works for you. Now, you wanna leave this for about an hour so the citric acid can do its thing. So while this sits, we can move on to the rest of the toilet. Obviously, I'm gonna start by just like wiping everything down, but the tricky parts about toilets are all the cracks and crevices. And this is where that like yucky stuff settles. And if you can't remove that, it often can be the cause of bad odors in your bathroom. So I have two little tools I like to use every time I clean my toilet. And the first one is actually a butter knife. This is the perfect tool for getting into the cracks and the crevices. I just take a paper towel, I wrap it around the butter knife, and then I can easily and effectively get into all the tight spots. And this is really great because you can get at the dirt and grime that you wouldn't be able to get at with just regular paper towel. And even if it's just a little bit, sometimes you're not getting tons of junk, but even the tiniest bit of junk in there can be the cause of bad odors in your bathroom. And you will find cleaning your bathroom this way and getting it also the cracks and crevices really helps improve that. I went ahead and left this for an hour. Like I said, I even put a little love note on it so nobody in my house tried to use it with the water turned off. And as you can see, the water is pretty murky, so hopefully it's done its thing. All we're gonna do is turn the water back on and then go ahead and flush the toilet. You may need to flush it twice or 3 times to cycle it all out, and then you can see right away all of the crud that was on the side is basically gone. This was with no scrubbing, you guys, just some citric acid, a little hot water. I love this. Now, since this tank wasn't super dirty, I wanted to show you this on the guest bathroom, which I've actually never cleaned the tank in our guest bathroom before. We moved it like a year and a half ago and I've just never done it. Oh my God, it looks disgusting. So we're gonna turn the water off, drain the water, add the citric acid, hot water, wait an hour, and let's take a look. Oh my God, you guys, it looks so much cleaner. It's amazing how much it cleans without any scrubbing. Now, if your tank is extra gross like this one, you can do it twice back to back to get it extra clean. Okay, let's move on to the toilet bowl. Now for me, I think the worst part of cleaning a toilet is when the toilet bowl gets water rings in it. This toilet that I have is not too old, so the water rings aren't too bad, but even still, you can see a slight dingy ring where the water hits. And in my opinion, things like water rings or water stains is one of those things that can just make your toilet look so dirty. Even if you spend like 20 or 30 minutes scrubbing it, it's so irritating, and I found the best trick for that, and that is these scouring sticks. These things are seriously like magic. You just take a little light scrub, it melts away the hard water stains. So I take it to the area around the water where like the water stain ring usually shows up, where the water hits in the toilet. And then I find you can usually get stains along the top where the water like drips down into your toilet. So I gently scrub there too. Literally takes seconds and it makes the hard water stains disappear. Then I just follow up with my toilet wand. I personally love the Clorox wands because they're so stinking easy. I keep one by both my toilets. I just whip them around the toilet really quick once a week. Here you can see how it looks. You can see any water rings are totally gone. Okay, make sure you're using your appliances correctly. This is something that for so long I was so bad about. I hate to read instructions. I get something and I'm like, cool, I'll figure it out. Good to go. But a lot of these things nowadays, especially cleaning things, all of these have so many settings and so many different like configurations in which you can use them that taking a little bit of time to make sure that you're using all of the settings of your appliances correctly is going to make them so much more effective. Okay, so let's start with dishwashers because I just recently learned some stuff about dishwashers that for some reason I just never bothered to learn in my 36 years of life. Now, the basic function of a dishwasher is what it's going to do is it's going to fill up with water, it's going to spin that water around for a while, it's going to drain out that water, and then it's going to bring in some new water, right? And it's going to do a couple of cycles depending on the settings of your dishwasher and what dishwasher you have. Typically, your soap is not getting dispensed in the first wash. That's considered a rinse. So it's sending out some water, going to drain that before it does another cycle that fills up in which your soap is going to dispense. Just knowing this is really helpful because one, it lets you know that you need to make sure you are using the soap dispenser in your dishwasher. Don't just throw your pods in, don't just throw the soap in because then otherwise you're only getting soap in that first rinse. So the dishwasher is not going to work as effectively. Now the other reason this is important to know is because that first rinse is not getting any soap. The whole point is basically just to rinse your dishes. There's a chance that that first pre-wash is not working as effectively as you want it to because if you have a house like most people, when you turn the tap water on in your kitchen sink and you turn it to hot, you probably don't get hot water immediately. It might take 30 seconds or even 60 seconds for your water to go from cold to hot because your tap water is coming into your house as cold tap water and then you have some sort of water heater that is then heating it. If you have this in your home, if you're using most traditional standard North American dishwashers, that first cycle that is going through your dishwasher is getting filled with cold water because it hasn't had a chance to warm up yet. And if you've ever washed dishes by hand, you know that hot water is far more effective at breaking down the like oils and fats that are on the food or on your plate. So a simple trick here is to run your tap to hot first at your kitchen sink and then turn your dishwasher on because now that first round, that first rinse is going to use hot water and it's going to be far more effective. A second trick is to use the pre-wash option. A lot of dishwashers actually have a little spot next to the regular soap dispenser that's for pre-wash. You'll notice it probably has little slits in it, and so this is going to allow this detergent to go out in that initial wash to help that initial rinse be more effective. Put a little bit of liquid or powder detergent into your pre-wash and you will find that if you have extra dirty dishes, they will come out much cleaner. My dishwasher actually doesn't even have a pre-wash option, but I've been just putting the tiniest bit of liquid, literally the tiniest little squirt, just on my door before I wash it. And I found having that little bit of extra soap and running the hot water when it does its first initial cycle makes my dishes come out so much cleaner. Now let's talk about washing machines because washing machines I think have even more settings than dishwashers. It can actually be super intimidating. Taking a few minutes to get to know what a couple of those settings and those knobs mean on your washing machine is going to allow you to wash your clothes a lot smarter and not harder. You have 3 basic settings on your washing machine. There's delicate, there's permanent press, and there is normal. And if you're like me, all I knew was the delicates were for delicate items and that normal is what I just is for normal, and so I would just do normal. But it's actually a little bit more than that. Regular is going to be a fast agitation as well as a fast spin cycle. It's also going to use consistently a hot water. Permanent press is going to use a warm water. It is going to be a more mild agitation in the drum. It is going to be a slower spin at the end to avoid wrinkles. And then finally you have delicate, which is going to be a slow agitation. It's going to be a slow spin at the end, and it's going to use cold water. Obviously with normal, you're sort of getting the biggest bang for your buck. You're using hot water. Hot water is going to wash the best. It's going to be a fast agitation. It's going to be a fast spin. So you are going to get your stuff really clean, but you are going to end up with some cons here. One, hot water is not great for everything. It leaves your clothes more prone to fading, and it can shrink clothes and stretch fibers on certain clothes. Permanent press is a little bit in the middle, right? You're getting a slower agitation and a slower spin, so you're maybe not getting things quite as clean, especially since you're using more of a warm water as opposed to a hot water, but you're going to leave your clothes less prone to wrinkles. And then finally, delicate for your delicate items. You're using cold water. You don't have to worry about it hurting the fibers of your fabric, but cold water and slower agitation, slower spin is not as effective at getting out dirt. Another thing to know about your washing machine is that it also probably has a pre-wash. This is usually something you select on the front panel, that you want something pre-washed. You put a little bit of the pre-wash into your washing machine, and then that's going to add, just like in the dishwasher, a little bit of soap in that initial rinse cycle. This is for items that are heavily soiled. I find just adjusting a couple of the little settings on my washing machine, depending on what I am washing, makes a really huge difference. All right, we're gonna wind down now from those sort of one-off hacks and move into more routines and mindset shifts. The snippet I'm going to show you is from a video that I shared over 5 years ago, but they are still completely relevant today because these are habits that I'm still using in my life now. So tip number 1 is to drink copious amounts of coffee so that you have lots of energy to clean. I'm just kidding. That is not tip number 1. Tip number 1 is to set up little routines for yourself. As people, we're very habit oriented. It's why we remember to brush our teeth every night before bed, because we've just always done it. And I found that you can do the same thing with some cleaning tasks so that they just sort of happen naturally. So what you're gonna do is think of some cleaning tasks that you need to do every single day, and then you're gonna tie them to a routine or an activity or a habit that you already do every single day. A really easy trick to help you form new habits is to tie them to habits that already exist, because your brain is already sort of wired for that one habit, and then your brain will become accustomed to thinking about those two habits together. So let me give you an example. One thing that I've started doing is I always will sweep and Swiffer my floors right after my son finishes his breakfast. I do this every morning. It's just become part of our little morning habit and routine that we eat breakfast, we clean the floors, and then we go upstairs and get dressed. By tying sweeping the floors to my breakfast routine, I've made it super easy to adopt because I literally just tied it to another habit that already existed. Also, another little bonus tip I'm gonna throw in, this is not a habit, but I recently purchased myself a little handheld duster buster, and it changed my life. And if you're somebody who sweeps, I have a robot vacuum that goes through the house, but I like to sweep every morning. Get rid of the dustpan. Why didn't somebody tell me this before? The little duster buster is so much more effective at cleaning up the little mess that you made from sweeping up. And a little mom tip, I'll try to throw in a few mom tips for those moms that are watching, and that is that I have cleaning activities I know I can do when my child is awake or around that he can sort of help me with, and so I'll tie those to routines or habits I do with him already. So one example that I shared was sweeping the floors. My son loves to help sweep the floors. He's not actually sweeping the floors. He uses this old duster to sweep. He literally knows every morning after breakfast, when I go to get the broom, he comes running over because he wants his duster and he helps me sweep. And it works great for me because he's preoccupied and he's busy while I'm sweeping and I'm getting the floors done. Okay, tip number 2 is to have cleaning lists by time. I think one reason, like I sort of mentioned earlier, that cleaning can sort of become overwhelming or we avoid it or it builds up is because we think to ourselves, well, I'll clean the bathroom when I have a free 45 minutes, but it could be days or weeks before we have a free 45 minutes to deep clean the bathroom. So what I like doing is having little lists of small tasks that I can do in dedicated periods of time. So I actually have this free cleaning checklist printable. You can download it totally free on my website. I'll have the link down below in the description, and it has tons of cleaning tasks that you can tackle in either 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or 60 minutes. This way, if you have some free time, even if it's just 10 minutes, you can still get something cleaned or tidied. You don't need to feel like you have to have this huge space of time before you can tackle a specific room or you can tidy the bedroom. Even if you only have 10 minutes, you can still do some work in that room. Tip number 3 is to focus on surfaces. There's something about having cleared off surfaces, flat surfaces in a space that just makes it feel cleaner and less cluttered. This little trick is sometimes called the flat surface clutter rule, and the idea is just to really only focus on clearing off clutter on the flat surfaces of a space. And I really like this because sometimes you can walk into a room and again feel overwhelmed by the cleaning tasks. You look at it, you're like, I gotta do the floors, I gotta do the windows, and I gotta empty the counters, and I gotta wipe down the counters, and you sort of get this long task, and instead of feeling empowered to do it, you feel really overwhelmed. So I love the little trick of okay, I'm just gonna focus on the flat surfaces. I've gotten into the habit of just constantly decluttering my surfaces. At least 3 times a day, I do a quick walkthrough of my entire downstairs with the ultimate goal of removing anything from a flat surface that doesn't need to be there. And I know that that can sound kind of daunting. You're 3 times a day you want me to go through and declutter, but I'm telling you that as you start that habit, your clutter becomes so much more minimal because you are constantly doing it that I would say at most it takes me 2 minutes to do it. Of course, I do have a smaller house, and that is one perk of a smaller house. If you have a larger house, then break it into sections, or really just focus on your main living spaces, such as like the living room and the kitchen. And the goal is to get all of the flat surfaces completely clear. It's not about making tidy little piles and sort of like moving your tidy piles around, because this is like a mistake I totally used to make. I used to be in such a bad habit of having little piles or leaving things out because I was gonna use it later or I was gonna get to it tomorrow. But I've actually found that it takes literally less than 60 seconds to put something away where it goes, and it makes my surfaces nice and clear, and then when I need it, I can just grab it. Okay, tip number 4 is kind of going off the last tip, and that is to get better about letting things go, specifically getting things out of your house that you do not need or do not need to be there. In general, stuff breeds more stuff and clutter breeds more clutter. And there's so many times that we keep things in our house because we're gonna use it later, or we just need to fix it, or we keep it on the counter because, you know, we're gonna craft with it tomorrow. So I've tried to really get good about the habit of like being super intentional about looking at the stuff that's in my house, and if it doesn't need to be there, immediately getting rid of it, or immediately filing it away where it needs to go, and constantly be thinking like, do I actually need this? And if I don't, trash it, donate it, recycle it. Okay, so let me give you a couple examples to sort of explain this a little further. Raise your hand if you have ever opened like a box from something that you got from online shopping, and then the box sits on the floor for 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 days before you even like think about breaking it down or throwing it out, because guilty. A small shift that I have started adopting is the minute I get a package, I open it, I put the product that I have purchased away where it needs to go, and I break down the box and I put it by the back door. And that way the next time I go out the back door, which because I have a toddler and a dog is 45 times a day at least, I can just take it out to the recycling or put it in the garage if it's a bigger box that needs to go to the dump. And it's just like, again, it's that constant state of like cleaning, the constant state of getting stuff out of my house that doesn't need to be there. The boxes don't pile up, and they're sort of always on, they're always just like on their way to where they need to be. Okay, habit number 5 is never go to bed with a dirty kitchen sink. This is actually one of the very first cleaning habits I ever adopted, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. I don't know, I'm getting old and all the years just mixed together, but it's literally like one of the first cleaning habits I ever adopted, and I realized how powerful cleaning habits can be to keeping your house clean. So the idea here, again, is just that you never go to bed with your kitchen sink dirty, because at the end of the day, we're tired, we just want to go upstairs, we want to get in bed, and I have that one little rule that I can't go upstairs until my kitchen sink is clean. It's not an overwhelming task. Even if I'm really tired, I'm like, okay, I can clean the kitchen sink. It's only going to take, tops 10 minutes. But what I find is that usually once I'm in the kitchen and I'm cleaning whatever is left in the sink, if I haven't done it already, it tends to lead to a little bit more tidying. I tend to wipe down any counters that haven't been wiped down, or put away any food that I forgot to put away. And the reason this habit has worked so well for me and has helped me adopt other cleaning habits is because I found there is literally nothing worse than walking down in the morning to a dirty kitchen. And there is literally nothing better in the world than walking down in the morning to a nice tidy kitchen to start your morning. And so I've kind of found, it's this little thing I do at night that makes my morning better. A little joke that you've probably heard me say before is like, I like to think of things that today Kallie can do that'll make tomorrow Kallie's day a little bit better, and like having a tidy kitchen is one of those things. Okay, habit number 6 is, because my dirty kitchen sink habit worked so well, I also have adopted the 15-minute pre-bed cleanup. Now this doesn't actually have to be right before bed, I just call it the pre-bed cleanup. Usually I do it right after my son goes to bed, but the idea is that it's just 15 minutes of cleaning up. 15 minutes is like not a lot of time. You can set a timer on your phone. It feels totally doable. It's not overwhelming, but it's just 15 minutes of like getting the house picked up, whatever it is that's laying out that needs to be picked up. If you have older kids, this can be something you guys all do together after dinner. Everyone just picks up for 15 minutes, and it helps you sort of tackle any little tasks that may be laying around for the day. Okay, so those are some of the cleaning habits I'm still using to this day, and now I want to shift into sort of like some perspective and mindset shifts, like the way that I view cleaning and like the way that I think about cleaning in my house that has sort of changed my relationship with cleaning my space. There are levels of clean and tidy. Sure, some people are total hoarders. They don't even own a sponge. And some people's homes naturally do just look like the cover of Martha Stewart magazine all of the time. But the majority of us fall somewhere in between there. The goal is not to achieve perfection. Striving for perfection will lead most people to feel utterly defeated at the end when you realize, well, perfectionism isn't reality for most of us. Not to mention, perfectionism is often the root of procrastination, as we assume if we can't get it perfect, it's not even worth trying to do it. You know the old saying, if you can't do it right, don't do it at all? That doesn't apply here. It is okay to kind of do this kind of all right or good enough. So, cleanse your mind of the thoughts of perfectionism when it comes to tidying a space. Like, take them out of your brain, throw them out the window, stomp on them, like burn some sage to clear your mind, girl. Whatever you gotta do, cleanse it out. Okay, so if this were a sliding scale of cleanliness, and say you are currently right here, then our goal is to scooch you on up to maybe here. And let me let you in on a little secret. Once you scooched up to here, and you've been here for a little bit, we can then scooch you up a little bit more, and then maybe down the road we can scooch you up even a little bit more. And at the end, you might end up here. But if you had tried to just leap from here to here in a single bound, it's not going to happen. You're going to end up defeated and back where you started, right down here, real fast. Okay, step number 2 is you gotta declutter your stuff. I know it's easier said than done. Stick with me here, okay? I have found more than anything else, clutter is the culprit of the majority of mess. Not only is it impossible to clean around clutter, but when clutter builds up on surfaces, in drawers, in closets, it is overwhelming. It'll stop you dead in your tracks because you walk into a space, all you see is the clutter and the mess, and you think, nope, don't have time for that right now, and then you just keep doing that day after day after day, ignoring it over and over again. Now, I have a handful of videos specifically about decluttering, including one that is 53 things you can probably get rid of right now that you won't miss at all, my closet decluttering guide, and my best secrets to decluttering. So I will link those down below. But what's most important is to know that when it comes to decluttering, you don't want to try to tackle it all at once. You may finish this video, hopefully feeling kind of amped up and inspired to say, that's it, I'm ready to take control and get clean, and your first instinct might be to do a massive declutter of your entire house. Here's the thing, the mess in your house was not made in a day, and we are not going to rid of it in a day either. It's going to be a slow process of getting a little better day by day. Remember that sliding scale from earlier in this video? My best decluttering tip is to tackle one small thing at a time. Don't declutter your entire kitchen. Choose just the cutlery drawer or the Tupperware cabinet. If you need to do the basement, break it into smaller sections. The Christmas stuff one day, the old clothes you don't wear the next day. If you're a list maker, feel free to write down everything you want to declutter and be specific as you want, because I personally find that the process of writing things down can be really therapeutic. It allows it to get out of our head and onto paper. But then once it's on a list, pin it up somewhere and work on tackling a few things a week, or if you're feeling really ambitious, do one little thing each day. By decluttering a little bit each day instead of one massive swoop, you're actually developing a habit of decluttering. Our bodies naturally create habits. I'm sure every night before bed you brush your teeth without even thinking about it. Your body just like kind of autopilots to the bathroom, right? So if you work on decluttering one thing each day, it starts to become a habit too. And you start to realize the less you have, the easier it is for you to keep things tidy. So developing the habit of decluttering is a big help to naturally keeping things tidy in your home. All right, my next tip, I've talked about this before, but I'm gonna give you a few variations in this video. Something I have preached in many videos is my 15-minute cleanup. You guys have heard me talk about it like 100,000,000 times, but the cliff notes, if you're new here, is I typically find most of us can find 15 minutes somewhere in our day. Most of us, this happens when we're at the end of the day, we're exhausted, ready to sink down into the sofa, binge a few episodes of The Office before bed, but you can usually spare 15 minutes before that. So you set a 15-minute alarm on your phone and you just clean as much as you can in that 15 minutes. Added perk, put on some good jams while you do it. Trust me, it helps. What I'll tell you is 15 minutes does not feel like a lot of time. So no matter how tired I am or busy I am, I usually find that I can give up 15 minutes. And you are going to be amazed at what you can accomplish and clean in 15 minutes. I can usually get the majority of my downstairs totally tidied up or the entire kitchen clean. It's just a little 15-minute chunk of time and it is a big game changer to the overall tidiness of my home. Now, for a little variation on this, I also want to introduce you to the 3-minute clean. Well, 15 minutes is a very short period of time. We don't always have a 15 full minutes in the middle of our day. We're juggling getting ready for work, taking care of babies, all sorts of other things throughout the day. We legitimately might not have 15 free minutes during the day, and I get that, and that's where the 3-minute clean comes in. It is great for little breaks throughout the day. I think all of us can find pockets of 3 minutes. So, once again, You set a 3-minute alarm, you just power through whatever you can do in that period. And just like how you'll be surprised at what you can do in 15 minutes, you are going to be amazed at what you can accomplish in 3 minutes. Here's a list of some things I've done in 3-minute cleanups recently. Put away all my kids' toys, organized my cutlery drawer, mopped my floors, cleared and wiped down the kitchen sink, cleaned both my toilets, wiped the kitchen counters and appliances. You get the point. Basically, the reason these 3 and 15-minute cleans work when it comes to taking care of chores around the house is so many of us think we don't have time. Again, going back to that age-old perfectionism issue, we think if we can't do it right, why not do it at all? But that just doesn't apply to tidying your home. Any little bit matters. By swapping out your narrative from I don't have time to I have 3 minutes, you can really start to transform your thinking about tidying your space, and you'll start to be very surprised at what you can accomplish when you give yourself little tiny pockets of uninterrupted time. You need to have a few systems and routines in place to help you control the flow of new stuff into your home. We already talked about decluttering. Obviously this is key, but so many of us think of decluttering as this big one-time task, like on the show Hoarders when they take everything out of the house and they put it on the front lawn. But the truth is, real decluttering for most people is really just about tiny little routines every day, not some big huge task once a month or once a year. Clutter sneaks into our home in all sorts of ways. We get new mail, packages arrive from online shopping, there's a little pile of things we left out from like a home project we're working on, kids' toys are scattered around, laundry doesn't make it into the closet, you leave something out because you need to take it to a friend's house. Whatever the case, we end up with pockets of clutter. These are those clutter spots that we just talked about. Now, once you have your clutter spots defined, you can just make sure to address them daily or weekly. You know where they are and you know you need to take care of them. But it's also a good idea to try to use some routines and systems to prevent these spots from getting out of control or even becoming clutter spots in the first place. I read an article one time where they interviewed a psychology researcher who specialized in motivation and habit formation, and she said try using if-then statements, that they could be very helpful when it came specifically to creating cleaning triggers. So let me give you an example that I use in my own home. With 2 kids and 2 adults that work from home full-time, we get a fair amount of packages, and thus packages and packing stuff can easily clutter up our space. So I created an if-then statement of if I open a box, then I will put away its contents and break it down. I tied the act of opening a box with the act of emptying it, putting it away, and breaking down the box. So they are one full action. It's never just open the box and take the stuff out and leave the rest. I find that these if-then statements work best when you pair them with a habit or routine that you already have. So just saying, if I see clutter, I'll put it away is too broad. It's not a real trigger. There's no action connected to it. It's never really going to work. A better example might be when I'm brushing my teeth, that's the habit that you already have. If I see extra bottles on the counter, I'll put them away in the cabinet. Or when I'm getting gas, the routine. If there's trash in the cup holder, I'll empty it. Or if I leave my office to get lunch, I'll bring down any cups or plates on my desk. The key is pairing new habits with current routines. So start with just a few for some of the biggest issues in your home. Like I said, for me, it was packages and the contents of those packages. Maybe for you, it's kid toys or laundry. Start with a few of the biggest ones and try to create some little systems or routines to solve those problems. One final tip I love is to start doing one thing before bed each night that helps you with your cleaning aspirations for the next day. So personally, I always clean my kitchen sink. It's something I do every single night because coming downstairs in the morning to a dirty kitchen sink sucks. Maybe you decide you're gonna put away laundry. Maybe you're gonna wipe down your bathroom counter. Maybe it's empty the dishwasher. Maybe it's clear off your nightstand. This doesn't need to be something big or monumental. It can just be 60 seconds. But just each night before bed, think of one thing you can do that's going to keep your space cleaner. I truly think the reason that so many people who are messy fail to learn how to be tidy is because they're attempting to adopt habits and tips from people who are naturally clean. The systems that someone who is naturally clean might use likely won't work for many messy people. Again, I don't really like the label of messy, but you know what I mean. It's a sliding scale. The real trick is not focusing on perfection and instead just focusing on doing a little better than you had done the day before. It's about looking at your own home and the clutter spots and the struggles inside of it and creating systems and routines that work for you and your life.
A final mindset shift that I want to share actually has to do with Swedish death cleaning, which is something that I learned about a couple of years ago. If you've never heard of it, it's probably not what you're expecting, but learning about Swedish death cleaning has forever changed how I look at the stuff in my home and how I maintain all of the stuff in my home. And so I want to share with you some little snippets from the video that I shared on Swedish death cleaning here to sort of give you an idea of what that means.
Here's the thing, we're all gonna die. Unless you're like a vampire, or like a witch put a hex on you to live forever, or if you found the fountain of eternal youth. Those things aside, those of us who are mortal, we all gonna die. And all the stuff you've accumulated in your life, you can't take it with you. I recently decided to try out Swedish death cleaning, which I won't lie, when I first heard Swedish death cleaning, I just thought it like was some Fight Club style cleaning method. I just like pictured some fight to the death, but like with clutter. I'm not really sure. I guess I didn't really think it all the way through. That's kind of just where my mind went, but I kept hearing about it and hearing about it and hearing about it, and I was like, you know what, I gotta know more. So I bought the book that sparked it all, The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning, How to Free Yourself and Your Family from a Lifetime of Clutter, which was written by Margareta Magnusson. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right.
Excuse me. Trying to film a YouTube video. I was trying to... Were you hoping to learn a little more about Swedish death cleaning today, or?
It's a really easy read. I read it in like 2 days, and I won't lie, the general theory behind it is the exact perspective shift I needed right now about my clutter. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know I'm a big believer in daily decluttering. I believe in doing a little bit every day to keep your space tidy and organized and free of clutter, and it works really, really well for me. But eventually, even with daily decluttering, every home needs a good deep declutter, and this is a time to just tend to those spaces that have gotten away from you, and you're not really sure how or why, but it happened.
This is reality, you guys. I make videos on YouTube about helping you guys get more organized and more productive, and yet this is currently how the dresser in my son's room looks because this is just reality.
So what is Swedish death cleaning? Well, it's the basic idea that eventually we're all gonna die and we don't want our stuff to become a burden on our loved ones once we're gone. In Sweden, there's this kind of decluttering called, and I am sure I'm going to mispronounce this, but it's do standing. Do meaning death and standing meaning cleaning. And it's the process usually started between 50 and 65 years old of clearing out unnecessary things so that when you are gone, your loved ones aren't left to sort through it all. And when you look at the definition just that way, it may seem, well, polite, you know, a little bit morbid, but it's actually an extremely peaceful and freeing process, and it can be adopted by anyone at any point in life. The real idea behind death cleaning is just to unburden yourself from your clutter. The origin has to do with decluttering in old age so that your clutter doesn't become a burden for someone else, but the practice is really about the process of letting yourself let your stuff go.
And then, you know, we've got 2 baskets, an empty shelf. Doesn't seem too cluttered, but the truth is, this basket here is just full of just nothingness. Just a bunch of stuff that I didn't know where to put it. All right, let's take a look into the mystery basket, shall we? We have a Halloween costume. I actually did save this because I think I may use it. We used it for this year's Halloween. I think I'm going to use it for next year's Halloween, so I am going to save this one. This was a piece of Miles' Halloween costume. We're never going to use this again. I had to like glue all over it to make him a scarecrow. So this one is got to go. Why am I keeping this? All right, we got some kids stuffed animals. We're going to put this in the kids section. Figure it out later. You know, it's a bag with his name on it. Will we use it? I don't know. I'm going to put this in the think about pile. Oh, this is a good one. This is something only somebody who has toddlers will understand. My child hates when books have jackets. I've tried all sorts of tricks. You know, the books might be cold if they don't wear their jackets. There's a piece deep down inside of me that is like, these books should have these jackets on them. You know, I was a teacher for a long time. It kind of bugs me, but I don't really need to keep a bunch of just paper jackets that now we're all wrinkly and gross because he shoved them in this bag. These books are still functional without these jackets. We can probably let them go. Miles has been asking for this toy for about 3 weeks. Now we know where it is. Random piece of fabric. Oh, look. He thought I was joking. More book jackets. He hid them all the way in here. They're good books, but Callie, they work without the jackets. I'm gotta let go of, you know, this need and desire to keep these because I think the books need them. And let it go. Oh, good. An oven mitt. That makes sense in a toddler's room. Alright, so much better. Now the basket that's in the toddler's room actually just has toys in it. which is what it should have and what it was originally designed to be, a basket of toys.
Throughout life, we become burdened with stuff, with so many things. So much stuff accumulates in life, and I always say the biggest issue with clutter in our life is that we have so many methods in which things enter our home and very few methods in which they leave our home. And basic math will tell you that if more comes in than goes out, you're gonna end up with more in. And so why do we hold on to all this stuff? Why don't we just let go of stuff as much as we bring it in? In the book, she mentions how we typically hold on to things because either our fear of letting go or parting with something, we think someone might want it or need it, our clutter instinct, and our hoarding instinct, because we have this like deep down instinct to hold on to things just in case of emergencies. But this is why death cleaning is actually so freeing, because when you look at getting rid of your things from the perspective of unburdening yourself and the loved ones who would have to go through this stuff when you die, it gives you this amazing new lens to look at your stuff through. It really gives you a lot of perspective about what you really need to keep. One of my favorite things she talks about in the book is for when you get to an item that you've been holding on to forever. Some things are going to be really easy to part with when you declutter, and others just won't. We all end up with these things that we just hold on to. We keep them for years and years and years, even if they aren't serving us in any way. And there's lots of reasons we do this. Maybe it's a gift someone gave you that you didn't really love. It can be hard to part with something that was gifted to you. All right, I just came across this watch that has been sitting in the store for probably 2 years now. My father gave it to me as a birthday present, and so it feels special to me because he gifted it to me. But the truth is, I don't wear watches, and I don't think I've ever worn this, but still the thought of getting rid of it seems wrong. Maybe you think you might need this thing someday. Maybe it holds a sentimental value to you. It's a memory of some kind. It can be especially hard to let go of things that belong to a loved one who has passed away. But in the book, she poses that you ask yourself 2 questions about an item. 1, will you use it again? And if not, will it make someone else happy? You know, is someone else going to be happier that you held on to this? As a mom, one thing I definitely procrastinate decluttering is my kids' clothing. It's just super overwhelming to me. They grow through things so quickly, and I'm not sure that our family's done or not. So it just brings up all these questions of, do I keep it? Do I not keep it? This is probably that fear point that Margareta mentions in the book. I have a fear of getting rid of these things because what if we decide to have another kid and I need it? And it's a valid point. But I also had a boy and then a girl, and I can tell you that of the 3 extra large vacuum bags of clothing that I saved for my first child, my second child only wore about 10 of those things. So that perspective definitely really helps me when I'm going through this stuff, deciding what I should really keep. All right, can we just have a ladies only moment, please, to comment on the phenomenon that is spare tampons? I swear every time I declutter, there's always just a random spare tampon somewhere, like I've been storing them away like a squirrel in the winter. Okay, so going back to the idea of Swedish death cleaning, I know this is a super random thought, but I love murder documentaries, right? Like I could binge Forensic Files all day long. I had awful pregnancy insomnia with both of my kids, and I'd be there 2 a.m. watching murder mysteries, you know? But I also noticed this weird phenomenon when I watch a murder mystery. If I watch a murder show at night, that night before bed, I always tidy my house a little more than usual. Like I go out of my way to tidy things because in my mind I'm thinking, if I get murdered tonight in my sleep, I don't want all these detectives and police coming into my house. Well, it's a total disaster. And I know this is a morbid, bizarre thought. I'm aware that it is absolutely ridiculous, but I also know I'm not alone because I mentioned this to you guys on Instagram and a lot of you said you totally do it too. Anyways, the point is, when you think, I might not be here tomorrow, it just becomes so much easier in your mind to tidy and clear your space. So I've been using this general idea of Swedish death cleaning for a couple of weeks now, and I'm just totally in love with it. I love how absolutely freeing it is when you can allow yourself to let go of something. When you can look at it and say, this isn't serving me, I don't need it, and none of my loved ones will want this when I'm gone. And then you can let yourself let it go. Now listen, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm definitely not a minimalist. I never will be, but I've gotten really good at letting go of things in my home as a daily habit of decluttering. And I know that excess stuff doesn't make my life easier, but instead it burdens me. It causes me stress, it causes me anxiety, it makes it hard to find things. Sometimes we think, oh, I'll keep this because I just might need it, but we don't realize how much this extra stuff is actually burdening us. So I just love the sort of liberating perspective that Swedish death cleaning gives you with your stuff.
One day you won't be here and you can't take your stuff with you. Like I said, 2021 has been a big year and has just been the perfect mindset that I needed to tackle through some of the areas that had just gotten really out of hand. After you're done, the best thing about decluttering is always that amazing realization that you have so much more space than you realize when you part with the things that you didn't need.
The final thing that I want to leave you with is my 3 steps to motivate yourself to clean. And these aren't just like little one-off hacks. It's sort of like a narrative shift of how you can sort of adjust how you approach cleaning, because most of us don't just like wake up motivated to clean, and nor do we just randomly find motivation throughout the day to clean. So these are some little tweaks to the way that you can get yourself moving when it is time to get cleaning.
Step number 1 is you need to reason with yourself. Most of us, when we are faced with a task that we need to complete that's like boring or like we don't really want to do, typically cleaning tasks, we tend to default to no, right? Your brain will sort of be like, I don't really want to do that. But a very cool thing is you actually have control over the thoughts in your brain. Our thoughts are very, very powerful, but I think some of us don't always give ourselves enough credit because we're the ones who put the thoughts in there, which means we have some control and some sway over the thoughts that are up there. Your brain actually has 2 different modes. It has something called a direct mode and a default mode. Now your default mode is essentially for all of the things that happen on autopilot, to inhale, to blink, to lift our coffee cup up to drink. Your default mode is there because you need it. You can't be actively thinking about these things. But something really interesting is your thoughts can actually end up in default mode as well. They can end up on autopilot. If you think the same thoughts over and over and over again, it tells your body essentially to put this on autopilot. So your brain will autopilot to that thought process. So this means sometimes you need to change your thinking from default to direct. Now, direct mode are things that you do consciously, that you are making active choices or actions about. So while your brain may default to nope when they see a cleaning task that they don't want to do, you need to change it. You need to make that shift in your thinking in order to change it from the nope to something else. In the book, The Antidote: Happiness for People Who Can't Stand Positive Thinking, Oliver Burkeman points out that we tend to phrase things in a limiting way. We'll say, I just can't clean right now, or maybe we'll make an excuse like I'm too tired to do that, but deep down what we really more often mean is I don't feel like doing these things. So you need to make an active effort to change your thinking about it. And the way that really works for me, that I've shared in the past, is to remind myself I'm never gonna feel like it. The phrase, I'm never gonna feel like it, has really changed my life when it comes to developing positive habits. Often when we want to adopt a new habit, we have to adopt some tasks or routines that we don't necessarily default to. And so they're not gonna feel natural to us, and they're not something we wanna do. Say for example, you wanna wake up earlier in the morning. When your alarm goes off, you're not gonna wanna wake up, right? Say you wanna start working out. When you get out of work, you probably just wanna go home. You're not gonna wanna go to the gym. So I kind of shift my thinking because I can't sit around and wait until I feel like doing something because I'm never gonna feel like it. I will face one of these tasks, and an easy way that I shift my thinking is I say, Kallie, you're never gonna feel like it. Your brain has defaulted to nope, and it's gonna default to nope in 20 minutes and in an hour, and in tomorrow it's gonna default to that. You're never gonna feel like it, so you need to do it right now. We can't just sit around and wait for motivation or divine intervention to strike, because it's never going to. There is a really famous artist named Chuck Close, and he says that inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work, and that's essentially what you need to do. Remember that you are in control. Instead of focusing on the mess or the amount of work you need to do, focus on the fact that you're in control of the situation, and you are the one who can make it better. If you're overwhelmed and you don't know where to start small with a single area or room. That momentum will get you going, which brings me to the next step. So once you've sort of shifted your thought process, the next step is to get moving. I always say that a body in motion stays in motion, and a body at rest stays at rest. If you are sitting down and you are relaxing, it's going to be a lot harder to force yourself up to get going to start a task. So this means, for example, like I said earlier, maybe I just put my kids down for a nap and I want to have some relaxing time, and I deserve it and I'm gonna have some relaxing time, but I'm not going to relax first and then do tasks later. I just put the kids down, I've come downstairs, I'm already on my feet, I'm already in movement, so I'm going to use that momentum to complete the cleaning tasks I need to do first, and then I will sit down and relax. Because if I sit down and relax first, it's going to be about 1,000 times harder to force myself back up. A body in motion is easier to keep in motion. A body at rest is much harder to get into motion. I think that we all know this is true. Have you ever told yourself you're gonna sit down for just 10 minutes and then it's like near impossible to get yourself up once you've done that, right? So use any momentum you have. I used to do this before I had kids. When I would get home from work, the first thing I wanted to do was obviously just like sit down and veg on the sofa for a half an hour, but I would force myself to get tasks done immediately. Lots of times the first thing I did when I got home was take my dogs for a walk. I kept my body moving, and that was a really positive movement. And then when I came home, my body was in motion and I had a lot more energy to tackle other tasks that I needed to do. Another trick that I really love, especially if you find yourself are already sitting down and you're like, how am I gonna like will myself into motion, is start with just the first step, stand up, right? And then I usually will put on some music, and you're sort of like get your body moving a little bit. You lead a little task where you're like listening to some music and you're dancing around, and now you've sort of got your body into motion. It's gonna be a lot easier. Continue to push that momentum. So you really just gotta like complete that first step of like get up, and then you'll find it's much easier to keep that motion and that momentum going. My final tip goes off of number one, but it's kind of like once you started cleaning, it's to change your narrative about why you're cleaning. And I heard Cass from Clutterbug talk about this once, but she essentially said to say to yourself that I deserve a clean home. And I love this because I think it changes the narrative of cleaning your house from a chore to something that's essentially self-care. I've heard people use the like the mindset shift of people saying I get to get themselves to do tasks. So for example, they might say, you know, I get to do the dishes because I'm lucky enough to have a family to feed and they ate food and now we have dirty dishes. And I think that that's a really beautiful mindset. I think, you know, being grateful and, you know, gratitude practice can be extremely beneficial, and I've talked about that before, but I don't find it super motivating. When you're looking for like that spark, that motivation to get you going, I don't always find it super motivating, especially if the tasks seem super daunting or really, really large. And so that's why I love the I deserve to mindset, right? I deserve to have a clean kitchen to cook my dinner in tonight. I deserve to have clean clothes in my drawer when I go to get ready tomorrow. I always talk a lot about doing something tomorrow you will thank you for, like putting your clothing out the night before so it's easier to get dressed in the morning, or cleaning the kitchen sink at night so you walk down to a clean sink in the morning, prepping food ahead of time so you don't have to do it during the dinner time rush, making your bed in the morning so when you come home you're greeted with a clean bed. These are acts of self-love. You do these things because you believe the future you deserves it. You remind yourself that you're doing this as an act of service to yourself. And personally, my love language is acts of service. So it's like the best act of self-love for myself is to do something for future me.
All right, my friends, that does it. A fun little walk down memory lane of the best habits and hacks and tips and routines and mindset shifts that I have learned over the years of creating content online around home organization and cleaning that I'm still using today. The ones that have really just stuck with me and make keeping my home cleaner easier every day. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Remember to be kind to yourself and others, and I will see you all in my next video.